I think I'm live. Hopefully, my thing is working too. So, that is horrible tea. I'm drinking Mulan tea, however you want to pronounce it. Look at that clutter back there. Urgh. However you want to pronounce it. It's supposed to be good for the lungs and breaking up stuff in the lungs. So I'm drinking it. I can't tell if a lot of pollen these days. So, anything that helps break up the old lungs. Chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. Iswaran translates as his title chapter, The Royal Path. I also put somewhere the Sanskrit and sort of like the Sanskrit translation. It's Rajvidya Rajguya Yog in Sanskrit, or as close as I can come. And it means something like the yoga of royal knowledge, royal wisdom, and the sovereigns, and the royal secret, the royal. Raj is like kingly, royal, like Raja yoga is the royal yoga. So Raj Vidya is like there's Vidya and Avidya, and we like the world is Avidya. It is ignorance or forgetting, not so much ignorance but forgetting. So Vidya is knowledge. It's the opposite of ignorance. It's sort of knowing, but it's also the opposite of forgetting. So I guess it could be the royal remembering. Anyway, that's all sort of speculation. It's kind of a mellow vibe out here on the porch. It's a blustery, cloudy day. I spent the last more than a day creating the perfect Grateful Dead concert from live concerts from all the ages of the Grateful Dead from the various eras. Still don't have it perfect, so that's like where my brain is. It's crazy. I don't know why I'm obsessed with it right now, but I am. So here we go. Chapter 9. The Royal Path. The yoga, the union of royal remembering and wisdom and the royal secret. So Krishna starts off saying to Arjuna, remember this is a conversation between Arjuna and Krishna. He starts off saying, because of your faith, I shall tell you the most profound secrets, obtaining both jnana and vijnana, and you will be free from all evil. Jnana is wisdom, knowledge. Oh, never mind. I was going to see if that how this translates that word, but apparently I'm on my browser in the living room, so it's going to be way too slow to do anything. So okay, so because of your faith, I shall tell you the profound secrets, obtaining both jnana and vijnana. You will be free from all evil. This royal knowledge, this royal secret, is the greatest purifier, righteous and imperishable. It is a joy to practice and can be directly experienced. But those who have no faith in the supreme law of life do not find me, Arjuna. They return to the world, passing from death to death. And that's what life is. It's just passing from death to death. You live, you die, you live again in some form, you die, you live again in some form, you die. Until you can get off what I like to call it the samsara train or the karma train. Samsara is that circle or that cycle of birth, old age, sickness, and death, forever and ever and ever and ever. Krishna continues, I pervade the entire universe in my unmanifested form. All creatures find their existence in me, but I am not limited by them. Behold my divine mystery. These creatures do not really dwell in me, and though I bring them forth and support them, I am not confined within them. They move in me as the winds move in every direction in space. So Krishna is saying here by saying, all creatures find their existence in me, or I pervade the universe in my unmanifested form. All creatures find their existence in me, but I am not limited to them. He's saying he is Brahman, right? Because that's what Brahman is. It's all of existence. Brahman is existence itself. So everything that has existence in Brahman. Brahman runs through everything. So Brahman is the ocean. And everything in the ocean is Brahman, even though it's its own thing, right? Because without the ocean, there can be none of the other stuff. There can't be the fish in the ocean. There can't be, all the other stuff. One of the images I like to think about this, I'm sorry I'm off on commentary, but, and it sort of applies to this and doesn't apply to this, it's just a big picture thing. The way I think of Brahman or consciousness or whatever term we want to use for this big thing that unites us all, but yet we're all these sort of individual things, or at least we think we are, is I think of it as like if you had, I don't even know how to, because it's an absurd image, because why would you do this? But if you had, like, say, a lake or an ocean or a sea, whatever big, large body of water you want to have, but at the bottom on the seabed, somebody just put bottles and like all these bottles, like there's just rows and rows and rows and rows of bottles just lining the floor of whatever this large body of water is. Everything that is in that large body of water will flow into those bottles. And so the bottles, that large body of water that finds itself in a particular bottle, takes on a particular shape and it has a particular form, even though the body of water is sort of formless, right? It has that sort of bottle shape. But it is also still part of that body of water. So you can say, oh, like if somehow each of those bottles became aware, they could say, I have a soul. I'm somehow, I have a soul and I'm an individual, but the soul that they have is that large body of water that has just filled them. So there is only one soul that's shared by all these bottles, right? There's only the one body of water that has filled all these independent bottles that may think that they are each individual. I don't know if that helps. To me, that's just sort of like the image I have in my head. And so there's this point at the top of the bottle, right, where the bottle ends, where the water in the bottle meets with the water outside of the bottle, and it is both the lake or the ocean or the sea and the bottle at the same time. Anyway, I don't know. Sorry. Back to, I'm just going to let Krishna talk now. So I'm going to read that again. It's after that crazy commentary. I pervade the entire universe in my unmanifested form. All creatures find their existence in me, but I'm not limited by them. So, sorry, more commentary. Even though everything that exists as Brahman or Krishna or Brahman is still more than that. Like, God isn't the universe. God is beyond the universe, but the universe is also God, right? It's a part of who God is. So it's because God's existence pervades the entire universe. So anything in the universe is a manifestation of God, but at the same time, everything that isn't the universe is also a manifestation of God, because God is beyond the universe. Whatever term we want to use for God here. So all creatures find their existence in me, but I am not limited by them. Behold my divine mystery. These creatures do not really dwell in me. And though I bring them forth and support them, I am not confined within them. They move in me as the winds move in every direction in space. At the end of the eon, these creatures return to unmanifested matter. At the beginning of the next cycle, I send them forth again. Controlling my Prakriti, again and again I bring forth these myriad forms and subject them to the laws of Prakriti, or Prakriti. I like Prakriti, it just sounds more southern. None of these actions bind me, Arjuna. I am unattached to them, so they do not disturb my nature. Under my watchful eye, the laws of nature take their course. Thus is the world set in motion. Thus the animate and the inanimate are created. The immature do not look beyond physical appearances to see my true nature as the Lord of all creation. The knowledge of such deluded people is empty. Their lives are fraught with disaster and evil, and their work and hopes are all in vain. But truly great souls seek my divine nature. They worship me with a one-pointed mind, having realized that I am the eternal source of all. Constantly striving, they make firm their resolve and worship. Constantly striving, they make firm their resolve and worship me without wavering. Full of devotion, they sing of my divine glory. Others follow the path of jnana, spiritual wisdom. They see me there. They see that where others follow the path of jnana, spiritual wisdom. They see that where there is one, capital O1, they see that where there is one, that one is me. Where there are many, all are me. They see my face everywhere. I am the ritual and the sacrifice. I am true medicine and the mantram. I am the offering and the fire which consumes it, and the one to whom it is offered. I am the father and the mother of this universe and its grandfather too. I am its entire support. I am the sum of all knowledge, the purifier, the syllable Om. I am the sacred scriptures, the Rig, Yajur, and Samavedas. I am the goal of life, the Lord and support of all, the inner witness, the abode of all. I am the only refuge, the one true friend. I am the beginning, the staying, and the end of creation. I am the womb and the eternal seed. I am heat, I give and withhold the rain. I am immortality and I am death. I am what is and what is not. Yeah, the chair is doing its own thing. And I think that is a cool little piece as I get myself some more tea. I like that so much I'm reading that again. I am the ritual and the sacrifice. Make sure this microphone is up around me here. I am the ritual and the sacrifice. I am the true medicine and the mantra. I am the offering and the fire which consumes it, and the one to whom it is offered. I am the father and mother of this universe and its grandfather too. I am its entire support. I am the sum of all knowledge, the purifier, the syllable Om. I am the sacred scriptures, the Rig, Yajur, and Samavedas. I am the goal of life, the Lord and support of all, the inner witness, the abode of all. I am the only refuge, the only true friend. I am the beginning, the staying, and the end of creation. I am the womb and the eternal seed. I am heat, I give and withhold rain. I am immortality, and I am death. I am what is, and I am what is not. Because for God to be absolute or infinite or all those terms that we like to use, God must be everywhere and God must be in all things, even the things that seem to contradict. Those who follow the rituals given in the Vedas, who offer sacrifices and take soma, free themselves from evil and attain the vast heaven of the gods, where they enjoy celestial pleasures. When they have enjoyed these fully, their merit is exhausted and they return to this land of death, thus observing Vedic rituals, but caught in an endless chain of desires. They come and go. Thus observing Vedic rituals, but caught in the endless chain of desires, they come and go. So he's saying people who follow the rituals, or we could say this way, religious people who follow the rules and all the letters of the law and make the proper sacrifices, when they die, they go off to, for lack of a better term, they go off to heaven. But heaven is not an eternal abode. It may seem eternal while you're in it. You may be there for a really, really long time, but sooner or later you have to come back to earth and be reborn again as a human eventually to try again for enlightenment. Because just because you're in heaven doesn't mean you're enlightened. You're there because you still have desires. And you may have, let's put it to use that sort of our way of thinking of karma. You may have saved up a lot of good karma. And so you're going to go off to this heavenly realm and live off that good karma. You're just going to burn that good karma away. And you're going to live this life of good, whatever you do in heaven, a life of ease and pleasure. And then the karma is going to run out. And your desires for pleasure is going to draw you back into birth again. And same thing if you're a bad person, you end up sort of in a hell realm, which again may feel eternal while you're in it. You have all this negative karma collected, and you're going to be there until all that negative karma is burned away, and then you're going to be reborn again, or start the cycle of reborn, because there's no guarantee you're going to come back as a human. So especially if you come from an evil realm, you may start out as an insect or some kind of mean, snake or something, and through the process work your way up and find yourself as a human and try again. Because only humans, according to most of I've had some people argue with this, and that's fine, because everyone has a right to however they want to think it. But for most of, the people in Buddhism, and most of the people I talk to who study Krishna and Hinduism and even the yogic sciences, they more often than not will say that only humans can obtain enlightenment, and that so the other forms are not desirable, even the so-called good ones like the heavenly realms. Like you could be reborn as a god, right? That sounds great. Hey, I'm a god, but there's no chance of being enlightened as a god, and sooner or later you're going to have to come back into the cycle of birth. Well, you're still in the cycle of birth and death, because your life as a god will end eventually. It may be like a million years, but it runs out, and then you die again and you're reborn again into something else. All right, that was a more commentary than I wanted. So back to Krishna. Those who follow I already said that. They're calling it, so those who follow the rituals, blah 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 blah, they go to heaven, and then thus observing the rituals, but caught in an endless chain of desires, they come and go. Those who worship me and meditate on me constantly without any other thought, I will provide for all their needs. This is Krishna talking. Those who worship me and meditate on me constantly without any other thought, I will provide for all their needs. Or you can say that is God talking if you don't like Krishna and you just want to make it God. It's God talking, or it's Jesus talking, because they all say the same thing somewhere. Those who worship other gods, those who worship other gods with faith and devotion also worship me, Arjuna, even if they do not observe even if they do not observe the usual forms. I am the object of all worship, its enjoyer and Lord. But those who fail to realize my true nature must be reborn. Those who worship the devas will go to the realm of the devas, or the devas, the gods. Those who worship their ancestors will be united with them after death. Those who worship phantoms will become phantoms. But my devotees will come to me. So again, more commentary, and I apologize for that, but Krishna right here answers one of the big questions a lot of people have about religion. And here it is. Like, look, there's thousands of religions out there, and in the whole history of the world there's been thousands and thousands of religions, and every isolated culture has had its own religion. And just because we sort of have, in Western civilization especially, sort of have these sort of certain religions that sort of taken over multi-cultures. We have Christianity, we have Islam, and we have Judaism, and whatever, and so we have these sort of multicultural or pan-cultural religions. There's still this question that people have, which is, if there's all these religions out there, and plus even within the religion, because you look at Christianity, there's, you have Eastern Orthodoxy, and then sort of certain offshoots of each of those. You have Roman Catholics, you have the in the Protestants, you have the Protestants, but even in the Protestants, like say if you have Presbyterian, you must have at least 100 kinds of Presbyterians. There must be 1,000 kinds of Baptists. There may, I don't know how many kinds of Methodists, and there's different kinds of Anglicans. So even within the religion, there's religions within religions. And so the question that Krishna answers here, that if you didn't know was asked, is this: if there's all these religions and each religion is claiming to be the one true religion, then one, how do we know if we are in the right religion? And two, what happens if we turn out to not be in the right religion? Because everybody technically, technically everybody's in the wrong religion. Because if there's all these religions and everyone is claiming that if you're not in my religion, then somehow you're going to hell. Well, everybody somehow is not in a religion that is claiming that. So everybody technically is going to hell based on that. So how do we avoid all that? That's the question. If there's all these religions and one of them is true, how do we know we're in the true one, other than the fact that this is what I grew up with and this is what I believe? But how do we know that we're in the true one? And what happens if we're not in the true one? What if it turns out we were wrong? What if it turns out, whatever, somebody else has it and we don't, we just thought we did? Well, Krishna says, and this is his answer, and I like this answer, and I wish Christians would apply this to Jesus, and other religions would apply this to their God or their worship, which is, look, it doesn't matter. As long as you're worshiping what you worship with pure devotion, sincerely with pure devotion, you're ultimately worshiping the right God, because all religions, Krishna says, all the gods lead to me. I am all the gods. But if you don't like that, you can just say God is all the gods, right? So it doesn't matter how you worship or what you worship, as long as you do it sincerely with devotion, you are ultimately worshiping the right God, because there's one God, there's one faith. Hey, here's Paul says this in the Ephesians, right? There's one God, one faith, one baptism, one Christ and Lord of all. Well, that may be filtered through all these other religions. So even it doesn't matter where you find yourself and what you believe and what you worship. Just do it. Do it sincerely. Do it with conviction. Do it the way it's supposed to be done. Like, for instance, if you're going to say that you're a Christian and Jesus is the only way, well, worship Jesus the way Jesus says to worship it, not the way your culture says to worship it. Because there's a lot of people claiming to worship Jesus that don't seem to follow anything that Jesus says, but follows what some political party just says, because they've somehow equated this political party with Jesus. And I'm not saying that for Republicans. I've heard it the other side for Democrats, with sort of liberal Jesus. So it's both, or neither are worshiping Jesus. They're worshiping a culture, and they're worshiping politics and calling it Jesus. And because they can find a verse or two that may justify it, but you got to take Jesus as a whole, not just the verse that supports your already previously held convictions. If Jesus isn't challenging your political views, if he isn't challenging your economic views, if he isn't challenging you in how you're living your life and how you're spending your money, then it's not Jesus you worship. You're just worshiping your economics. You're worshiping your previously held ideas, and you're sprinkling some Jesus flavor on it, right? He's like grated cheese that you're just sort of putting on it to give it a little more flavor, but it's not Jesus. So if you're worshiping Jesus, worship Jesus and do it sincerely, and you're covered. If you're worshiping Krishna, worship Krishna sincerely and with devotion, and you're covered. If you're worshiping Allah or or whatever else there is out there to worship it. Krishna says you're covered. I'm going to take Krishna on this one. He's been around a lot longer than I have. So those who worship other gods and faith and devote, those who worship other gods with faith and devotion also worship me, Arjuna, even if they do not observe the usual form. So even if your religion looks different from this religion, if you're doing it sincerely, you're still worshiping God. You're still doing it right. And even though this person does it their way, they're still worshiping God. They're still doing it right. And so now I don't have to make them worship like me, and they don't have to make me worship like them, because we're each worshiping sincerely with devotion and faith So we are each worshiping God as we understand God. And as far as God's concerned, we're both covered, even though we may look different. I like that. Takes the pressure off. That's a big question that's answered. That's asked a lot for religions, and Krishna answered it. So there's your answer. Doesn't matter. Just whatever you worship, do it sincerely with devotion. I don't know if that applies to the people who've made their politics their god. I mean, hey, yeah, worship your politics or your economics if that's the way. I guess I don't know, but if you're worshiping Jesus, worship Jesus the way He says in the Bible. Feed the poor, help the sick, uh, find housing for the homeless. All the stuff He says He's going to judge you on in Matthew 25. He tells you the standards of judgment, which is I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was in jail, you visited me. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Doesn't say anything about where you go to church, how often you go to church, who you have sex with, who you're married to, what political views you hold. Doesn't say anything about that. He says, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. That's how Jesus says to worship Jesus, because He says He identifies with the least of these in our society. So we look out in our society and see who is hungry, who are the most vulnerable, and those who need help, who are hungry and thirsty and need to be welcomed, and we do that. And then we are worshiping Jesus sincerely. And if we are doing that, we are also worshiping Krishna, we are worshiping God, we are worshiping whatever it is behind the veil. We are worshiping it with sincere devotion and doing it right. So therefore we're covered. But if we're not doing that, if we're just playing games and we're using a religion to hurt people and hate people, we're not doing it right. We're not covered, and we're stuck in this because the reason why you hate people is because you're caught up in the desire, which means you're stuck in this process of birth and death and birth and death and all the bullshit that's in between, over and over and over and over. It's that simple. Or that complicated. I don't know. Sounds simple to me. Well, I'm just very chatty today, I guess. Whatever I'm offered in devotion with a pure heart, a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I accept with joy. This is Krishna talking. Whatever you do, make an offering to me. The food you eat, the sacrifices you make, the help you give, even your suffering. In this way, you will be freed from the bondage of karma, and from its results of both pain of that, and from its results both. In this way, you will be free from the bondage of karma, and from its results both pleasant and painful. Then, firm in renunciation and yoga, with your heart free, you will come to me. Make everything, whatever you offer to God, no matter how insignificant, God takes as a huge offering. And whatever you do, make it an offering to God. So when you're eating your dinner, or drinking your tea, or walking your dog, or feeding the birds, or going to work, or making the phone call at work, or doing this at work, or every little task you do at work, make it an offering to God. And then you will free yourself from karma, and you will free yourself from the bondage of desire, and you will free yourself from this cycle of birth and death and birth and death and all the bullshit in between, over and over and over forever. I look upon all creatures equally. None are less dear to me and none more dear. But those who worship me with love live in me, and I come to life in them. I've heard the same things from Christians, right? Jesus lives in their heart. Those who come to them, Jesus lives in them. Well, Krishna's saying the same thing. A few thousand years before Jesus. Even sinners become holy when they take refuge in me alone. Quickly their souls conform to Dharma, and they attain to boundless peace. Never forget this, Arjuna. No one who is devoted to me will ever come to harm. All those who take refuge in me, whatever their birth, race, sex, or caste, will attain the supreme goal. This realization can be attained even by those whom society scorns. Kings and sages too seek this goal with devotion. Therefore, having been born in this transient and forlorn world, give all your love to me. Fill your mind with me, love me, serve me, worship me always, seeking me in your heart. You will at last be united with me. So, this first part where it says, all those who take refuge in me, whatever their birth, race, sex, or caste. Remember, India had a caste system, and so you were born into a caste, and so there were certain opportunities because you were born in that caste, but also you weren't allowed to do other things. So every caste had its own jobs that were part of that caste, its own sort of duties that were part of that caste, and your job was to live your duty as best as possible in the caste you were in, and maybe rise to a better caste next time. That's what a lot of people think. That's that samsara train or the karma train. They're just attached to a better life in the next life, or to get out of that cycle altogether. So those who take refuge in me, regardless of their caste. So this idea that you have the priestly class up top, or the priestly caste up top, that it's those who are the priest who can, to use the Western Christian term, be saved. And those in the other caste, maybe in their next life, if they work hard, whatever they're in their caste, and devote themselves to living out their duties, will they'll eventually rise up to the priest class where they can be saved. Krishna is saying that's nonsense. Anybody in any caste, any person, any race, any economic situation, any creed, any whatever can be saved. Which salvation means getting off the karma train. It means getting out of this process, this endless cycle of birth and death and bullshit in between, over and over and over again. I'm going to coin that: birth and death and bullshit in between. And the way we do that, the way we sort of get off of that train, the way that anybody in any caste, in any situation, in any economic situation, in any situation in life, no matter where you find yourself, the way you can get off this karma train is to fill your mind with God, love God, serve God, worship God always, seeking God in your heart, and you will last be united with God, which is what yoga is: union with whatever it is, God, and the God in this story is Krishna, but it can be the God of your understanding, right? So worship the God of your understanding, devote yourself, make that God, as you understand God, your whole life, and your whole life will then be a part of that God's life, and therefore everything you do, offer everything you do to that God, offer the good things, don't do things for a reward or to avoid pain, because that still keeps you trapped in karma. You may get some good karma for doing it, but you're still trapped in the cycle. As long as you have karma, as long as the way we think of it in the West is sort of like this bank account of positive and negative. We want the good karma, right? Because we want to have good things, but that's still desire. You're still trapped in the cycle. So sooner or later, that good karma runs out, and you're back to zero. Well, the goal is to stay at zero, right? Not to have good karma or bad karma. Get off the karma train. Live self-sustaining without generating debt or without generating profit. And the way you do that is everything you get, everything you do, everything you think, give it to God, and then God has it and you don't have it. Give God the karma. Give God the karma and let God deal with the karma, and you can be karma free and get off the karma train. That's like the process. All right? I don't know if that made any sense. I don't care. Have a good day.